focusing on above the curve. And you need to find a partner to do that assignment with. So not a trio member, but somebody else in the class to work with. You're going to be exploring that book and start with your own personal knowledge and address the issues, the questions that are in the assignment, and I'll go over those in a second. Then you share your knowledge with your partner, and then new knowledge that you get that comes out of your conversations. So you have your private knowledge, your shared knowledge, and then your new knowledge that comes, things that you didn't think about before. So I want you to focus on the philosophy, which is why do we have a business school? Why is Harvard in business, and why are we in business? What are we trying to do? What is our higher purpose? Okay? And you can discern their higher purpose from the book. You can also look at their website and get some pictures from that directly. But I want you to compare and contrast, because I want you to be comparing what they're describing in Above the Curve, what Philip Dels Broughton is describing, and what you know about what we have going on here. And you can also look at Harvard's website to see if it's reinforced. Philosophy, which is really focusing on higher purpose, their culture. That's the growing medium. How are they making all of that happen? Okay, how are we making happen what we're doing? Okay, it's the culture issue. The design of the student experiences. How are their experiences designed? What are they trying to get people to think about themselves? What are we trying to get you to understand and think about yourself and know about yourself? Okay, so those are comparisons. And he talks about it a lot in the book, and you can also discern from the website. Relationship to the outside world of business. So they're bringing in people all the time into Harvard, business people, to tell a particular story. We're bringing in people. What stories are we bringing in? What are they bringing in? What are we trying to convey? What are they trying to convey? Okay? So I want you to be able to sort out what's going on here. This is an incredibly rich field for contrast, I think. At least I saw that when I was listening to it. Brand and peer pressure. So what is the Harvard brand? How have they built it? How have they invested it? How do they capitalize on it? How are we building our brand? What are we investing in? Where are we trying to go with it? Where are they trying to go with theirs? Okay, so that whole brand, and then peer pressure. At the end, he talks about Harvard hosted this big sustainable business thing, but none of the business school people came. People from the government school and the undergraduates came, but the business school wasn't even represented. They had this huge event. So what's that about? And then what are we doing in terms of how we're working with peer pressure, alignment with the needs of today's world. So again, at the end of that book, he talks about after 2008, he talks about after the financial collapse and how Harvard is responding to leadership moving forward in the financial markets. And what are we doing? How are we responding? What are we thinking that needs to be done, and how are we getting people ready to do that as opposed to what they're doing? So just compare and contrast. Start with your own private knowledge that you developed from your reading and your research. Talk with your partner, and then talk about what you've learned that's more than what you started with. Okay? So what you figured out, what they gave you, and then new insights that you have. That's the first assignment. The second one, you have a choice of two. Okay, so the second one is number 3. That's dated October 23rd. There are 2 fairly straightforward assignments that have to do with, again, trying to get very clear on this whole punishment and rewards and control issue. One is more focused on imagining success, like how would you cope with the situation, and that doesn't use controls, that isn't using rewards. How do you work effectively with that situation and dealing with that? The second one is more focusing on healing and having people that you know talk about their stories and help them work with it in a way that will enable them to get over it, because people have their self-concept, their motivation, their well-being have been significantly impacted by this, as many of ours have, and how can we help other people begin to meet that and then transcend it? So that's a choice, A or B. We just did number 4, so that's not the number 5 is a personal strategic plan. That might sound like a really fancy name for a plan, and like in any plan, you figure out and you do a needs assessment. Where are the areas of my listening that I'm the weakest, that I want to build on? What are they? Talk to people who you know. What do I need to work on? What do I need to work on it with? What resources do I need? Do I need coaches, books, videos, private counseling? Do I need my trio to sit down with? What do I need? How am I going to plan over the next week, months, 3 months, 6 months? What are the phases I'm going to look at? How am I going to track my progress? Okay? To know if I'm improving in my listening, some aspect of my listening skills. For some people, it's not interrupting. For some people, it's not, figuring out what you're going to say next. For some people, it's making people feel that you're actually present and attending, because you have a tendency to do this. I don't know. You have to find out. So, and then map it out. You can do it on a piece of paper, anything that you want. Show me your plan. So it's your first time to do a strategic plan, but it's not that complex. It just has certain elements. Test your needs, set your objectives, figure out what you're going to try to do on a continuous improvement model. How are you going to track it? What resources do you need? How soon are you going to make progress? That's it, basically. Okay, the last thing, and the book has probably 300 different areas, or maybe 200 that you could pick from, but pick 7 that for you, these are the things you want to focus on and write a short paper about it. The second one is the trio assignment, which is to do your personal ontology and epistemology, which we talked about today, the GUPA thing today. What do I believe is real and true? Who am I? And what isn't written here, which should be, is what methods do I see rolling out in the world that I'm going to sort of take this out into the world? What are some of the things I'm considering? And you need to interview at least 3 people who are close to you about their perspective on your core gesture. Am I a teacher? Am I a facilitator? Am I a builder? Am I a designer? Am I a healer? What? And so that could link back to questions you might bring to them about your core, your true gifts, near gifts. What are the things that you feel like you're good at? And see how other people see you. So people find this to be an extremely satisfying and happy assignment because they get to talk with people who are close to them about themselves and get more feedback about how people see them. So, and then you're to do a compare and explore your earlier identification with near and true gifts, present as a paper, okay, and submit a sculpture or a collage that reflects all of this. So, and people have done all kinds of big sculptures, they've done collages, they've done 3D things. It's totally up to you, but you need to get into the artistic realm here, okay, in some form or other. Okay? The third one is to prepare and deliver 3 unrelated and diverse 30-second messages. We talked about that earlier. No notes, 60, 65 words, 3 different topics, not one you did today,